Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Missy. Thanks for joining me again. This layout is for the Cut Shop, and I'm using the little letters cut file, and I edited it in at the end of the video because I forgot to put it in here in the beginning. So that's the cut file, and I'm deciding between these two photos. They're both of my daughter, quote unquote, reading. One's in black and white, one's in color, and I'm not quite sure which one to use yet, but I started off with the Pink Fresh Studio Up in the Clouds collection, and I've already cut my die cut on some of the pattern paper, and I'm going to use this paper here as my background, and I'm going to use some white gesso to blend out some of those dots. It's pink and red dots, and I'm going to do some mixed media on the background here. So I'm just using white gesso to kind of fade out some of those dots and also to give my wet mediums a place to go. And I'm going to start out using some gelatos. I'm going to go with pinks, teals, some yellows, some blues, and I'm just doing what I always do here. I use the plastic packaging technique a lot. If you've watched my channel, then you know I practically do this on every layout lately, and I just don't get sick of it. I think it's a really fun way to get color on your background if you want to use either sprays, gelatos, watercolors, any kind of paints. It's just a fun way to get it on there, and I like that it's kind of a controlled way to do it, but it's also messy, and you know, you get a surprise sometimes. You're not quite sure what the end result's going to look like. And I keep putting the cut file on top of it just to see what it looks like so far as I progress with all of these colors, because you know, if it doesn't look right, I want to stop, or if I need more color in one spot, that will kind of show me what I need to put where. And even though when I started this, my intentions were to use all Pink Fresh Studio Up in the Clouds because I have some of this collection left over and I want to use it up. However, it sort of takes a turn and takes on a life of its own, and a bunch of American Crafts Rise and Shine goodies make their way onto this page, and so that's just how it goes sometimes. You start out one way and one idea is in your mind, and then something happens and it just does not look how you wanted it to look, and so you change it up, and I'm all for that. Just because you envisioned it one way doesn't mean that it can't turn out a completely different way, because sometimes the way it turns out is better than the original image you had in your mind. At least that's my experience doing it. So I'm still deciding on the picture. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use black and white or color, and the color picture is not super bright, so there's a lot of muted colors in it. And one of them, my daughter fell asleep with a gigantic book, and it's in between her knees, and I just thought it was so cute. And then the other one, she grabbed one of my huge novels and ran to my bedroom, jumped on our bed, and was supposedly reading it. She sure looked like she was reading it, but she was flipping the pages. So that's some of the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in Butter, and I'm just adding a little bit of yellow splatters, and then there's some of my shimmers in Pink Stiletto, and that's going to give me some pink splatters, and it dries a lot lighter than it looks right there. So you can see that's the background. Now some of it's shimmery, some of it isn't, because I did use some shimmers, and I also used some metallic gelatos. So that does give it a shimmer. If you have gelatos, or if you are interested in trying gelatos, Michael's now has a lot to choose from, and they also have a big pack of the metallic ones, and they dry very shimmery. It's very pretty. And you can see here that I didn't even directly put the gelato on there. I did the plastic packaging technique, and it still was very shimmery, even when it was mixed with water. So I like how that looks. I'm going to add a little bit more pink, just because I'm very picky about what color goes where, and I want to make sure that it's in the right spot. I want to make sure all the colors are where they need to be. And that's the picture that I chose to use, was the color one. And you can see it's got a lot of neutrals in it. It's not super bright. And now this is where one of those fine line bottles comes in handy. On a cut file like this that's super thin, I'm going to glue it down, and it's so easy because that tip is so thin and my cut file is thin, and so it's a perfect way to add little bits of glue to get it down. And now that it's glued down, I'm going to go back in and add all those little bits that come out of several of the letters, all the middle circles of the A and the E, B, and all those round parts. I'm going to come in with some tissue paper, which is another thing that I have been doing a lot of lately. And another thing that I wasn't intending on doing on this layout was adding a lot of black, but black mysteriously makes its way onto the page. Now these are from the Pink Fresh Studio collection, Up in the Clouds, and those are some of the Project Life cards, or the small cards that came with that kit, and they have gold foil on them. And I'm going to use them as layers behind the picture, and I want to add a bit more color to them, so I just use my very worn-in watercolors and add some blue to that one and then some teal to this one. And they're just going to be peeking out, and you can see they're kind of shiny. And then this paper I've used for other things, so I'm going to use a scrap piece of it to layer in some pink behind the picture. And then later on, when I start trying embellishments here and there, it seems like every embellishment I grab is pink. And I wound up not using a lot of the ones I had picked because it was almost pink overload. I did some stitching. I stitched a line of different color thread through each of the letters of the alphabet. And that's why I chose this cut file to use with the reading pictures, because it fits. It's the alphabet and she's reading. And I thought it would be cute, and I thought it matched up pretty well. Now I'm going to come in with some thread. I used some yellow and some pink, and it's very subtle. You can't really even see it, but it just adds a little bit of texture. And up close, you can see it a lot better. So I'm going to try some of the Pink Fresh embellishments, but for whatever reason, they're just not gelling for me. I had every intention of using them, and they just did not work. I don't know. I'm going to come in with some washi tapes and add a little bit of them to the top and the bottom of my picture and the layers. And here's where I'm going to start to add in some of the Rise and Shine stickers and collection or embellishments. I start to add in some orange, and so I add in that really pretty orange. I guess that's somewhat of a flower, I'm not sure, but I like the look that it gives right there coming out from under the picture. And I just play around with several things here. I still try some of the Pink Fresh embellishments. I'm going to try some of those wooden circles from American Crafts. This is just kind of like I'm going to try this here, and if it works, I'm going to glue it down, and if it doesn't, I'm not. And that's another orange piece. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of orange throughout the layout, I decided to add in some snippets of orange. That's from that little booklet that came in this kit, or not the kit, with the collection. And I'm just going to fussy cut these little messy paint strips and use them as a little embellishment. And I'm going to add some thread, well that's not thread, what is that, cord, through the circle wood piece there. And I believe that one says "You're really neat." And now I'm going to play with more washi tape. This is the washi tape booklet that comes with this Rise and Shine collection. And I'm just going to add in 3 different strips that I tear underneath the stitching that I did through each line of letters, just to add a bit more interest to the background. I didn't want it to be too busy, and this is where I wasn't sure if I was going to leave the tape there or not, because it did have some black in it, and I didn't know if I wanted to add black into this, and I wound up liking it, so I left it. And here's where I definitely decide to use black. I come in with Color Shine and make some big splatters. And it's interesting the way they splattered, because this cut file is so intricate that when those first two big drops hit the paper, they didn't land in a perfect circle. They kind of splattered in between some of the letters, and I kind of like the way that turned out. Now here's something that I do that I completely change. I make my entire title with some of my old thickers from my stash, and I do the whole thing in black, and I wind up having to change it because it's just too much black over on the left side. I'm going to make the title Lost in a Good Book. And the more I looked at it, I mean, I love the font of those, but I changed it to that. I take out some of the black and add in some pink thickers and some really old yellow thickers. And I had to use a 0 as one of my O's because I was out of O's. I'm going to take my black Sharpie and go through every single letter and outline it very thinly with black. And it just makes the letters pop a little bit more. And that made me feel better about adding all the black, because I feel like there's some dark in the photo with our headboard of the bed in the photo. And so I think it, even though that's actually dark brown, but it's still a dark element. And I think that the black sort of picks that up scattered around the page. And I was happy with how that looked. So I'm going to add in a little bit more washi tape. And that blue stripe washi tape, believe it or not, I found that a couple years ago at the Dollar Tree. And I have used that quite a bit. And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't, especially if I've used gesso or something. It comes up a lot. But I really like it. It's just this really pretty light blue and white stripes. Added a little bit of stitching, and I'm going to come in with a little bit more black. And that button is from a Flair for Buttons, and it says Once Upon a Time. And it was the perfect light blue color. And I thought, oh, this is perfect because this is about reading and about books. So adding that black thread to the right there underneath that flare button gave me a little more pop of black over on the right. And then I'm going to kind of do the opposite here on the left. I'm going to add blue thread under a primarily black flare button. And it's black with some white chevron type arrows pointing in toward the title. And then I'm going to come in with just a little bit more yellow at the bottom and the top. Just the tiniest little sliver of that washi tape, just to bring in some of the yellow. And it's getting close to being done. I'm going to add in my journaling about how my daughter loves to snitch books from the shelf and steal them away so she can flip through them. It just looks so cute because there's no way she's going to read a novel that big. And this was a couple years ago. But that's the final page, and stay close-ups coming up, and the cut file itself. It's called Little Letters. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you have any questions or want to know anything else about anything that I used. And I hope to see you guys next time. I've got some more videos coming up this week. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.